In a fiery escalation of tensions within the Republican Party, President Donald Trump has publicly lashed out at Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky, accusing the conservative lawmaker of obstructing his ambitious legislative agenda. The clash centers on the massive 1,116-page budget reconciliation bill, dubbed the Big Beautiful Bill by Trump, which narrowly passed the House last month. The bill, a cornerstone of Trump's second-term agenda, aims to make permanent the 2017 tax cuts, bolster border security, increase military spending and overhaul regulatory frameworks. However, its inclusion of a $4 trillion debt ceiling increase has sparked fierce opposition from Paul, a longtime fiscal hawk, setting the stage for a high-stakes showdown in the Senate. Trump took to his social media platform Truth Social on Tuesday to slam Paul, accusing him of reflexively voting no on everything and lacking practical or constructive ideas. In a series of posts, the former president labeled Paul's stance as crazy and claimed the senator has very little understanding of the bill's potential to unleash tremendous growth for the U.S. economy. The BBB is a big winner, Trump declared, emphasizing that the bill's tax cuts and investments in border security and defense would drive economic prosperity. He also took a swipe at Paul's popularity, asserting that the people of Kentucky can't stand him, a provocative jab aimed at undermining the senator's influence. Senator Paul, undeterred by Trump's attacks, has doubled down on his opposition, arguing that the bill's massive debt ceiling hike is a betrayal of conservative principles. Appearing on CBS's Face the Nation on Sunday, Paul warned that the bill's fiscal math doesn't really add up, and criticized its proposed $4 trillion to $5 trillion debt ceiling increase. He argued that such a move would balloon the national debt, already standing at $27.75 trillion, and place the blame squarely on Republicans for future deficits. These will be GOP spending bills, GOP deficits, and there is no change in the direction of the country, Paul said, emphasizing that conservatives risk losing their high moral ground on fiscal responsibility. Paul's critique focuses on the bill's spending provisions, which he described as wimpy and insufficient to offset the proposed borrowing. The bill includes $320 billion in new spending for the military and border security, including $46 billion for a border wall that Paul argues is unnecessary, given Trump's recent executive actions to curb illegal immigration without additional funding. There's nothing conservative about this, Paul stated bluntly, signaling his intent to block the bill unless the debt ceiling provision is removed. He has proposed an alternative, a temporary $500 billion debt ceiling increase for 3 months, forcing lawmakers to revisit the issue regularly and prioritize spending cuts. The dispute highlights deeper divisions within the Republican Party as it navigates its narrow majorities in Congress. With a 53-seat Senate Majority Leader John Thune can afford only 3 defections to pass the bill through the budget reconciliation process, which bypasses the Senate's 60-vote filibuster threshold. Paul claims at least 3 other GOP senators share his concerns, potentially jeoparding a revolt that could derail Trump's agenda. Other conservative senators, including Rick Scott of Florida and Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, have also expressed unease about the bill's fiscal impact, with the Congressional Budget Office estimating it could add $3.8 trillion to the national debt over the next decade. House Speaker Mike Johnson has defended the bill, arguing that the debt ceiling increase is necessary to avoid a catastrophic default, with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent warning that the U.S. could run out of money as early as August. Johnson has urged Senate Republicans to make minimal changes to the House-passed bill, citing the delicate balance within his caucus. However, Paul's stance has drawn support from fiscal conservatives who view the bill as a debt bomb that undermines Republican promises to curb federal spending. The bill's passage is further complicated by competing priorities within the GOP. While conservatives like Paul demand deeper spending cuts, moderates in high-tax states are pushing for an expansion of the state and local tax, SALT, deduction cap, which would add to the bill's cost. The Senate's budget resolution allows for a $5 trillion debt ceiling increase, $1 trillion more than the House version, adding fuel to the intra-party debate. As the Senate prepares to debate the bill, the clock is ticking. The looming X-date, when the U.S. could default on its obligations, adds urgency to the negotiations. Republicans face a delicate balancing act, passing Trump's flagship legislation while addressing concerns about fiscal responsibility. Paul's defiance, backed by a small but influential group of senators, could force significant changes to the bill or even jeopardize its passage, potentially handing Democrats a political victory. Trump's aggressive rhetoric against Paul underscores the high stakes of this legislative battle. By framing the bill as a big winner, and accusing Paul of playing into Democratic hands, the president is rallying his base and pressuring Senate Republicans to fall in line. Yet Paul's resolve, rooted in his long-standing commitment to fiscal conservatism, suggests that this clash could reshape the GOP's economic agenda and test the party's unity in the early days of Trump's second term. The outcome of this showdown will have far-reaching implications for the nation's fiscal future, the Republican Party's identity, and Trump's ability to deliver on his campaign promises. As the Senate debate looms, all eyes are on whether Paul's stand will force a reckoning or if Trump's pressure will prevail in pushing the big, beautiful bill across the finish line.